What's up, everyone?
Hey
Welcome back to
guys.
the Section 214 podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Lucas Hammerfan, along with my co-hosts, JS and Ascent. Welcome back to our viewers, and also welcome back to me, as I'm off the reserve list. Missed the last three episodes after traveling to 7 countries in the last 3 weeks. I've had an incredible time traveling the world and seeing different things. I know my two co-hosts here have done a good job covering the Lions while I've been gone. Been really looking forward to coming back here. Bit disappointing that the Lions followed up with a loss for a 1-3 record, but we're going to start the episode off on a more
But
positive note. As you can
yes,
see,
we have
look,
like we're starting it out with the good stuff, getting the good stuff out of the way first because this game was just torture and a half to watch. But
Just a complete turd.
and we're gonna get into the first thing we're gonna go into is the reason why we're all wearing Canucks stuff right now.
Canucks
As
green.
you Yeah, if you can recall from the last episode, at the time, the Abbotsford Canucks were, they just lost in overtime. They failed to win the Calder Cup at home,
That
which
was
is
right. That was
very
right after because we
disappointing.
we waited
Yeah,
to record that episode to see how that overtime would turn out, and it was just a heartbreaking double deflection off of two Canucks players' skates,
and we fought,
and we were
and
crushed.
then in Game 6, the Checkers went up 2-0, and then all of us collectively were going, they're going to blow the series, aren't they? And
Yeah,
then 2-1, 2-2, they tied it, and Linus Karlsson takes the lead. And I'm saying like he's my new favorite Carlson after Eric Carlson. Because
I have to say,
yeah,
the
and
whole
they
Northern
held on
England
in
is
the
proud
third
of
period. Yeah, they held on in the third
this group.
period, and for the first time ever in the history of this podcast, in the history of the land, we can say that the Canucks are champions.
the
Right?
Canucks won the cup.
First time in all of
Ash,
our lifetimes.
yes, the AHL Cup, but it's a championship nonetheless that we're all equally, you know, happy to have on our docket. Right?
And the first pro sports championship in the city since. Do you guys know the
Oh,
answer?
11.
2011 Grey Cup.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't believe me when I say that, but the AHL counts as a professional league. So yeah, the first time in almost 14 years, first time since I was in elementary school. Ascent would have been in high school. And Lucas, were you even born yet?
Yeah,
I was probably in
I was
kindergarten.
four
Yeah.
years
I'm
old.
kidding.
Yeah,
Yes, you
5.
were.
Yeah,
4 or 5 years old at the
yeah,
time. Crazy.
you guys were babies. I was like getting into adulthood by that time, a little bit, but
Is
yeah. So yeah,
all kidding aside, it was 13 years, and that's a long time.
Mhm.
yeah. And again, just the amount of admiration that the team is getting, and it wasn't just from the fans who showed up to sell out the games, right? After they won the cup in Charlotte, they brought it back and they did a whole parade around Abbotsford. I wasn't able to go there myself because it's a bit of a trek for me, right, by bus and van. Like it would have been like at least an hour and a half drive out for me to get there, and I didn't have the I didn't want to risk, my power chair battery just to go all the way out there, right? But I can guarantee you that if the actual NHL Canucks ever won the Stanley Cup, we are going to that parade.
No,
Absolutely.
100%.
Even
And
a Grey Cup parade, right?
If that had been the
But
of
NHL
course,
Canucks winning the cup, I would have skipped classes to go in and make it to that parade.
yeah,
I would probably skip anything to be at a Canucks or Lions parade. Have you seen videos from the celebrations for the Abbey Canucks Calder Cup? They
I have
sold
not.
out the
What?
Abbey Center for a whole
yeah,
celebration
Oh
on
they
Thursday
wow.
night, and it was crazy. Some of the players, I mean, you can see the players were drunk and they're having such a great time.
Did you watch
I'm
it?
so I watched some of it. I've watched clips on
Nice.
Twitter. Simba was there. He was
Oh,
having a great
awesome.
time.
Oh yeah, he
Um,
must be ecstatic, right? He was,
yeah, he's been to
yeah,
almost every game. in the playoffs. So I don't think no one deserves it more than him. He's supported the team since the start. And a lot of fans have supported Abbotsford since the start. I mean, only 4 years, and they've been such a great success so far. So it's amazing. I feel so good for the community. Also the players, like some of them are probably going to make the NHL next year. So really good for the
And just
organization.
the fan base needs something to be hopeful about after the NHL team was such a gong show this year.
With a dismal
Oh,
failure, like it was,
Censoring
yeah.
my language for the family audience. It was a complete mess. And it makes me happy. I actually cried. I was at work at the movie theater
Yeah.
here. I was giving out I was working at the ticket office. It was really, really boring. And about 5 minutes to go, I had the game on the radio. And then all these customers start showing up. They were lining up to come into the movies. And I was like, please get through quickly. I was so stressed. And I was able to turn the radio on with under a minute to go. And I listened to the last minute of the game. And I actually cried when we
it was
won.
incredible.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it's
did manage to
unbelievable.
catch the lot because I was stressed. I refused to like watch like the first half of the third period because I was stressed out. And then I did watch like the last 5 minutes of that game and watched them raise the cup, and I felt like, oh my God, this is so surreal, right?
There were some
So
amazing saves that Shelov's made too.
yeah,
Oh, please
I'll
don't
tell you,
trade him.
it actually felt better than the Super Bowl win with me because like yeah, the Eagles got revenge on the Chiefs, right? But like to see the Abbotsford Canucks, like Abbotsford is a city I pass through all the time when I visit my godparents in Soyuz, right? Like and yeah, just to have like that kind of a local team just win a championship on that stage, right? It's like massive, right? And also, especially since it's been 4 years since it was Abbotsford got flooded by the that Pineapple Express that happened. That was
Oh
you know
yes, I
cut.
forgot about that. That devastated the whole region. It was horrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they needed that one quite a bit, right? I'm sure. Yeah, just so, some of that was probably fresh in the Abbotsford fans' minds when they saw them win down. They go like, "Yeah, they paid their dues for this one, right?" I mean,
They
especially
did.
considering I also remember when the Abbotsford Heat was in town, right, and they were the AHL team for the Flames, and it didn't really make sense, right?
So nobody
Because
cheered for them because that was just awkward. Why would you commit treason like that?
yeah, why would you root for like the farm team of the Flames, right? Um, I did watch it. I did watch a Heat game before, but yeah, I wasn't really like in in intrigued or like I wasn't like cheering for them too much. Right? It was, but yeah, this is the proper Abbotsford local team, you know, to within our area. That yeah, just
And congratulations on the win.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Can you tell we're talking about
We're
Abbotsford a lot
trying
more?
to avoid the topic at hand.
I
Yeah,
know.
but we'll
I talk about Abbotsford forever.
yeah, we'll stop blazing the Canucks a little bit, right? But yeah, we're happy to see them win. But yeah, for the second topic before we get into the game, it's something more to do with Hammer, and I guess I'll let him talk
Yeah.
more about this, right? uh,
So I was in Europe and other places for the past 3 weeks as part of the Douglas College Field School to Oslo and Copenhagen, and I had a blast. It was an amazing time, and I think I've raved enough on this podcast about how great a college Douglas has been, and
yes,
I miss it already. I've literally first week back, I've been to campus twice just to hang out, and probably
Oh,
doing that throughout the summer, and hopefully we get a recording in there some point. Um, I'll bring two things up from each city. Well, one thing up from I messed up my words. In Oslo, when I got to my hostels, we were in these hostels with bunk beds, and it was a youth hostel, so there were like little paintings on the wall. And the first thing I saw, I was looking at the wall, there was a Moai on there. You know
yes,
how obsessed this podcast is
yeah.
with the Moai statue.
that
I
is
sent it to you
great.
guys. Yeah, and thank you, Asun, for bringing that up earlier. I honestly
Mhm.
forgot, and it's a good thing we'll bring the image up. And
Yeah, because
that was
that was
such a
the
funny
first
moment.
day you went into the hospital after you left YVR, right? Like the first day you got there, got to the hospital, and then boom, there it is, right? The Moai
Yeah,
statues instantly. uh, yeah,
I love seeing.
I'll put that image in editing just to just to show that off. Which is that I had a laugh at that when you told us you saw that right there. Just the
I
Moai
mean,
just
you can tell
sees all.
how linked I am to the podcast. As much as I was enjoying my time over there, I was also excited for a lot of things back home, and one of the things included this podcast. So I know you guys held up the fort really well. Um, Another thing I ran into. So this is when I was in Copenhagen, and part of the activities we were doing in our urban sustainability program was a green bike tour. Um, so person that was leading our green bike tour was a former CFL player. Crazy. Um,
Oh yes, I forgot about
Felix
that.
Menard Briere. So he never actually played a CFL game, but he was on the practice squad for a couple of teams. He was a kicker. Um, he's played for six teams, Winnipeg, Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal, Saskatchewan, and his last team being BC in
So nearly the
2021.
entire league except for
Pretty
Edmonton.
much.
Right? Okay.
Not Edmonton, Calgary, and one other. My mind is blanking right now. But anyway,
Hamilton.
it was pretty funny because at the beginning of the bike tour, we all mentioned we're from Vancouver. And he's like, "Hey, I used to play football there." And I'm like, "Yo, I'm a Lions season ticket holder." He's like, "Yeah, I used to play there." And I'm like, "What?" So I looked at his LinkedIn page, and he has a degree in urban architecture or urban landscaping, I think. He did it at the University of Montreal, and then ended up he played football there as a kicker, and then got drafted to the CFL. And then once his career ended, he never made it off the practice roster, but still very admirable, making it onto CFL rosters. Um, he's now
Hmm.
working as an urban landscaper in Copenhagen right now, which is pretty cool to see. I mean, CFL careers are not forever. Obviously, we see a lot of CFL players becoming firefighters or other things after their careers, and I think it's really cool to see a guy like him. He was enjoying himself. He did our bike tour, so that wasn't part of his day job, but it was a kind of a side hustle for him, and he was
Yeah, and
great. I mean, we got to see.
it's also sort of common for CFL players, especially on the lower end of the pay grade, right, to also have just other different careers lined up
Yeah,
for added income, right? Just keep their um keep their lives going, right? Because uh
I
you know
I wonder how many of these
like
guys
CFL players
work in the summer off season.
CFL players when they make the starting roster, like most of them they're not paid a whole lot, but again they just play for the love of the game, really, and that's what we appreciate about this league, right? It just gives it feels more of like a grassroots kind of football league in a sense, right? Just you get players that have like a true passion for I mean, not to say like NFL players don't have passion for football, but it's like you know they're that determined to make a career for football on themselves. Like even even with even being on the practice roster, it's like nothing to snip at, right? It's like you know it's it's still quite an accomplishment to get that far onto a team, right?
Yeah,
Usually,
I mean,
uh,
I've, s- even if you're like what a minor league player in baseball, you're still one of the best baseball players in the world, right?
top ten
That's kind of the
percent
things I
of
look
baseball
at.
players,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
at least.
I know a lot of players have off-season jobs or stuff, but I think one of the things about the CFL is players really enjoy themselves here. I think they love the style of football, and I've seen international players get interviewed, and it's really cool to
Yeah,
see the game, like them adapt to the game here and stuff. So
yeah, and I imagine, I mean, well, when it comes to international players, I mean, I've been seeing them from Australia, from Germany. Well, I mean, it's especially interesting to see just European football players going to the CFL, right? Because I remember there was a time in the mid 2000s when the NFL tried an experiment with NFL Europe with those teams, and I know that because the only Madden game I ever played on the PS2 was Madden 2003. You could play as NFL Europe teams, right? And I would always put the NFL Europe teams against like the Packers or the Eagles, and because they were easy teams to beat up on because they're bad, right? And I just as a kid, because you when you're a kid, like you're putting up touchdown after touchdown, going up like 60, 70 points on them, and then anytime like I give up a touchdown, I go like, nope, I want a shutout,
Yeah.
right? Right.
That's funny.
Um, yeah, so yeah, I did have a question of mine, come up through when you were talking about your field school, and my question is like, what's the walkability like in Copenhagen? Uh,
The walkability. Yeah. So 10 out of 10, honestly. Like I had to write a report about the field school, which I finished last night, and I was basically raving about how easy it was to bike and walk there. And I think one of the better things about European cities is that they're so dense and they basically built themselves around walking and biking. So even when we were taking transit, like you could have walked those like in 20, 30 minutes. Like I was at a point at Copenhagen where I didn't want to spend much more on transit, so I just walked everywhere and I was able to get everywhere very easily. There was lots of wide pathways and lots of car-free streets. I think the main shopping district in Copenhagen was completely car-free. Same thing with Oslo, London, like all the cities in
yeah,
Europe are pretty similar in the way that they're built. No buildings above 6 stories, but they're kind of all the same. I mean, it was really nice. And the thing is, like walking long distances in Europe doesn't feel like a long distance. There's so much to see, and there's so much in every building. There's so much character to it, and that's one of the reasons I want to go back there now. Like it was such a different culture, and I realized I came back and I hadn't been in a car for like 3 weeks. I didn't need to drive when I was there. It was such a
mhm.
different lifestyle.
Yeah. Again, well, yeah. And when you're talking about walkability, like I've read a bunch of articles that really extol the virtues of European walkable cities, and I'm going like, yeah, I wish Vancouver could be more like that, right? Because as much as I love the transit here, right? I mean, it's like the best transit system in Canada, right? Bar none. uh, but I just wish that our cities were more like built around just instead of having to take like an hour for me to get to Vancouver. Like I wish I could just do all that within like so many minutes, right? Especially
Yeah.
with a share battery life, right? And then I have a
Mhm.
feeling that if I ever visited, cities like Copenhagen or Berlin or London or but the one I really want to go to is actually York, which is in
Ooh,
the
England.
ca yeah, the county of like North Yorkshire. If that's where a friend of mine, a good friend of mine lives right now. I've always wanted to visit it over there, right? So.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's
Let's
that's on
say
my bucket list too. I just
let's say one more thing on the matter before I keep rambling about it. And I'll take this directly out of my paper, which I wrote yesterday. And I think one of the key differences is that obviously here in Canada and US, like there's all these single family homes and things are so spread out. And in Europe, they've always been built very dense, so everything is close together. And I talked about bike systems because I think our bike infrastructure is really good in Vancouver as someone who bikes here. Um, the difference is that everything's just so far apart. Like it's so far, and I live in proper Vancouver, and it's so far to get to downtown. Whereas the metro areas of Copenhagen and Oslo are not big at all. You can like walk from end to end in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that's just, the way it was
Mhm.
built. There's a large population, but smaller, more dense, and a lot easier, more accessible just to get places by bike. You don't bike because you want to, but because it's the best option.
Yeah, and I mean, I imagine I do trust Scandinavian countries, and probably some of the UK for sure. I do trust those countries to have like a very good accessibility in terms of for people with disabilities, right? A lot, because they've got that down pat, I'm sure.
They're
So
really adapting to it. I think the key thing
yeah.
about the country is they're really old. The infrastructure is old, and a lot of the metro systems date back to like the early 1900s. But yeah, they've been adapting. I think they're really good in terms of accessibility. So
Yeah, so there's your travelogue for for
my
this
travel
episode at
report.
least.
Maybe I could talk about a bit more in the bye week or something. You could theme some questions around it. Who knows? But, I have a lot to talk about. It was very interesting. I learned exactly what I was going there to see, part of my urban planning school. So it was great. I'm happy to be
Yeah,
back here.
yeah. I'm glad you had a lot of a lot of fun adventures out there, right? And
We
but
get into
yeah,
the
now
tough
you're back
part.
here, suffering with us as we watch our football team.
Oh, I know.
But no. Wait, no, that's not the last. That's not the there's one more thing that I want to talk about that's good for us because for once I've actually managed to set us up a BlueSky account now. So
That's very exciting.
yep. So yeah, I'm gonna put that link in the description too. So we've added that to our list of socials. So yeah, come follow us on there too as well. And yeah, yeah, that's a really a short thing. That's I mean, I've already on the BlueSky account, I've already followed like at least the CFL and BC Lions accounts for sure. Most of the CFL teams, I found they don't have official BlueSky accounts yet, which I'm a little bit perplexed by. But um, yeah, it's just like an extra avenue of I guess CFL news and stuff like that. I mean, Twitter still seems to be like the home for like a lot of established CFL accounts and like the workers for the teams and everything, like social media managers or everything. But I feel it's better if we also have a BlueSky account just in case something happens with Twitter, right?
Which it may
Um,
at some point, it's getting worse and worse on there. So we're still there for now, but I don't know what the future will hold.
yeah, so we're just like covering all our bases for socials and everything, right? But
Yeah.
our main focus here is on the YouTube channel for sure, and um yeah, well, yeah, the YouTube channel and just recapping every single Lions game, from here to infinity, and boy did that. And boy, is that a good segue to what because we're gonna get into the bad stuff now and
Infinity number of bad
the gut
stuff.
check. The gut
Oh,
check for this game. And
good check. So
before before we talk about how this loss made us feel, I do want to shout out someone that I have talked with a little bit on the CFL subreddit. His name is Accurate Big 7233, and this person they they flew to Regina. Like
oh,
they flew to Regina like the day before the game. They probably stayed in a hotel. They came to the game, they watched this, and then they're probably gonna fly back home to BC. I assume they probably live in BC, but
what else
yeah,
is there to do in Regina?
they they
Not
sh-
much.
they should ask for a refund for that game and those flight tickets. I I would be I would be just so incensed. I mean, I'm already incensed by watching this loss with you guys at home, but to pay ton of money, like, can you imagine if this happened with Touchdown Pacific? Like, can you
Ew.
imagine if
Oh
Ottawa
my
just straight up
goodness.
like destroyed us like that in
A total
Victoria? Like, that
humiliation.
would have
But
been,
luckily,
yeah, we were lucky then, but this
that was one
guy
of the Lions'
was
only
not.
good wins last year.
Yeah, this person was not so lucky. He paid hundreds of dollars to see even his team get
Poor
absolutely
guy.
just nothing happening in this game for the offense,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, they lost 34-18, but that was because of
One,
garbage time points at the end, right?
yeah, we feel bad for you, but also we salute you for supporting the team. Lions have some great
Definitely.
fans. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also gonna say that I'd like to extend an invitation out to you, Accurate Big. Like, if you're able to go on Zoom, I think we'd like to, do an interview with you in the
Absolutely.
bye week if you can, right? That's my direct message to you as well. So Yeah, I mean, we should, give you like some kind of reward, like I was venting about the team with us, right? Just for going through all that, right? Like, there's, it should be
Like
something.
sometimes I gotta cleanse my eyes sometimes after going to BC Place, seeing some of our tough losses last year and going
Oh
out to
God,
Regina for
yeah.
that's even tougher. So we salute you.
I feel like how I get it because I went to Toronto in 2023 to see the Lions get their butts kicked by the Argos.
You
So
did.
I know exactly what that's like.
Yeah, that's well, at least Toronto's not a rival to us, but Saskatchewan is like a
That's
direct
true.
like you're surrounded by just green and white fans that are happy, and then you're just sitting there with your lion stuff, you're just like crossing your arms and you're just shaking your head and going, what have I done wrong to offend you, football gods, right?
This is yeah,
Yeah, this is
for first
yeah,
game coming back, I mean I've watched the highlights the last three games, also listened to the podcast. But is this
yeah.
what we saw the last 2 weeks mostly? We lost,
Yeah,
that's
sadly it is.
I'd say
especially with
it was
Masoli,
even
right?
more it was even worse than those past two losses, right? Because
Yeah.
um like we lost to Strevler and Caleros. And Strevler was a little bit of a surprise, at least, but losing to Caleros was expected. But and in both those cases, I mean, Winnipeg didn't really play great on offense, and it's the same thing here. Like Mayo, he's like I thought it was going to be Trevor Harris that was going to be starting this game, and and I thought it was yeah, I thought it was going to be Harris starting this game, but because he had concussion issues, they decided to go with Mayo. And we know from the past, Jake Mayo as a Calgary Stampeder, like he was not good, right? Like
He's
he got
mid.
like I think the last time we played Jake Mayo, I think that was that Stampeders playoff game in the Western semis, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been, but yeah, he was. Yeah, Calgary was just like a very bad team that just like limped into the playoffs at 6 wins, right? And we just took them to pasture, right? And he must have thought like, okay, I need my revenge for that. Just 2 years later, here we are. Um,
Where do I start about how I feel about this game? Because there's a lot of points we could talk about. I want to shout out one good player. We'll get into stats, obviously. James Butler, great game. Um, it's the running back we've needed. But the middle of the game, literally middle, right before halftime, that pick six for 85 yards. Um,
That
last
was
play of
the
the fourth
turning
quarter.
point of the game.
That was the turning point. I was so mad about that.
I would go so far as to say that that was not just a turning point. That was the emphatic, you're not winning this game moment, right? uh,
It was
that's
just
That
a
moment, I literally
devastating
stood
win.
there. I stood there in disbelief for 30 seconds. I'm like, I cannot believe you did that. And like there was two receivers open that would have walked into the end zone, throws it to the left side, picked off. You get free passing yards.
and and also I'm going to make reference to the title of this video again, like I usually do, because I like my creative titles, right? Even in losses. But I made reference like when that interception was thrown, I said, "This is Brett Favre and the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship against the Saints." And because there was an infamous call by the Vikings radio guy, and he was because Brett Favre like threw an interception in the late stages of the fourth quarter against the Saints, and the radio guy for the Vikings went like nuts, right? He said, "You could take a knee and take a 55-yard field goal. This isn't Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl, right?" Because they should have made like the easy decision to like try a field goal to win the game, but no, Minnesota, as they always do, right? Because they screw it up and then the Saints win it. You know, I feel like this was. I mean, the stakes for this was obviously it's like the stakes were wildly different, right? But it was a similar flavor where like you could have taken a knee, you could have like let the clock elapse to 0 seconds and take a field goal and go up like 10-9.
Which is what they frankly should have done because that would have
Yeah,
put them in the lead. And really no reason not to do that. I'm always a believer of the principle, never push for more when you have enough. And in that moment, enough would have
They
been,
got too greedy.
yeah, exactly. Enough would have been, take the lead into halftime. Saskatchewan's 3-0, leading 10-9 at halftime. Nobody's going to complain about that. But instead,
Instead,
they threw it all away.
17. Yeah. And that was like the moment where, all of us were like, we're just immediately just spawned and we're going like, yeah, they've lost us. But yeah, we're gonna we're gonna go into like more surrounding, the game in the recap. But yeah, let's get
Didn't want to say it
into
at the time, but we
stats
did lose at that
and
point.
Yeah, that
yeah.
was the TSN turning point, as they say.
Yeah.
Stats.
So yeah, I did the but I read the Winnipeg stats for the last game, so I'll just read the BC stats. So yeah, just compared to the last game, it was like really in all in many facets of the offense, I'd say it gotten, even worse than the last two games, right? Which is saying something, like that was pretty bad too. But like just in terms of sheer game breaking moments, right? And just everything. Um yeah. Jeremiah Masoli, our starting quarterback, because Nathan Rourke was going to be a game time decision for this game, and he was ruled out, so he should be back for the next one. But
Yes.
yeah, I think maybe even with Rourke, we're not winning this game because like this is maybe a little bit of. I mean, no, no, I'm going to go against that because I think Rourke would have made a smarter decision to like not do the halftime thing. Like, but anyways, yeah, Masoli went to 16 for 29, 173 yards passing, one touchdown, three interceptions, yards on average per throw, and his longest throw was like 25 yards. Right, he's he's like a long time veteran pro, but that's he's way past his prime now with those numbers, right? And it was continuing to be proven here. I just uh as Hammer mentioned, our one bright spot on the offense was on running back. So James Butler had 17 carries for 123 yards, one touchdown. He had 7.2 average per run, and a 38-yard run was his longest. And he also added on four catches on seven targets for 26 yards. So yeah, see,
I
normally
just want
when
to
you have like a 100 plus yard running back, usually you can win. But the problem is, and of course we'll get into like the other 100 plus yard running back, like that's not enough, right?
I just want to mention that 95 of those Butler yards came in the first half, and they interviewed him at halftime, and they were like, "Yeah, you're 5 yards away from 100." He was playing really well in the first half, and we only had 9 points from that.
Yeah, I imagine he was like, yeah, I don't care about both no stats. I just want to win.
But he was
And
strong and kind of put the game away. Honestly, no, they didn't. The first half, despite everything, it was a close half. I will say it was. It just a close, all things considered, about as good as you could have expected, flushed down the
yes,
toilet because of one bad decision.
and but well, overall, I mean, and again, the running back was like the bright spot. I mean, the receivers were pretty disappointing. Like even Aberhart, right? He had more catches in this game now, right, than the usual one for 50. Like he actually had four catches on six targets for 65 yards, no touchdowns, 16.3 average, and 25 was his longest catch and run, right? Like he was the most productive receiver, right? Which is a, not a surprise in terms of he does have like big game capability, right? But it's just we're used to seeing him just do one catch for 50 yards instead of multiple, right? But yeah, more disappointing receivers to come. Starting with Hatcher, only three catches on seven targets for 44 yards and a touchdown. And that touchdown was, I believe, yeah, it was in the first. I think it might have been in the first
Half.
half. Yeah. went to go up to 7-6. But yeah,
That's when I
the
started
one
watching the
touchdown.
first drive.
Yeah, 14.7 on average, 18 yards is longest. Jackson had 4 catches on 7 targets for 27 yards, 6.8 on average. I mean, I'm not like he's the new guy on the team. He's a new receiver. I mean, apparently he got relegated from kick return duties, and we'll get into the kick return stats, which is a little better, but it's like, how can you improve from crap, right?
F to a D, like an F to a D, which is still really bad and not good enough.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Katoy, both Katoy and McInnes both had 2 catches on 3 targets, and now Katoy had 24, and McInnes had 16 yards, and yeah, like McInnes is one of like a big receivers that have potential for like 100+ yards, but like he was limited pretty much heavily throughout the game, right? Like it was kind of a it's kind of a masterful job by Saskatchewan's defense. When I said before in the last episode, like I saw Saskatchewan's defense getting like really shaky. They were kind of due for a loss, but they really like put a sock in my mouth and said like, no, we're better than this, right? And yeah, they they had like their best game. I'd say like this is their best win, right? I mean, they didn't have the normal, give Riders fans multiple heart attacks in the fourth quarter, right?
They didn't give us
Like
any
the
either because it was over so fast. It was more like one swift stab in the heart
one
rather than a
swift stab in the heart,
rather than a slow
I
heart
felt
attack.
like
wow, that's
I felt like we
gruesome.
didn't really have much of a chance in the second half. Like we had that
No.
one stab right before halftime. I'm just like, oh,
It
it's kind of
theoretically
over.
could have happened, but I think we scored or they scored on their possession after halftime because they got the ball right away, right? And
After the kickoff, yeah, they returned the kickoff after on the second half. So
then they
Yeah.
scored a touchdown because when I used to play Madden football back in the day, I would always defer to the second half because I would want to score right before halftime and then immediately get the ball and score again. That's exactly what Saskatchewan did.
okay,
And
Mr. Bill Belichick. Okay. Uh, yeah, I'll just keep going with well, speaking of, well, Bill Belichick's pretty good with defense, and you know I'll give a little praise to the defense here. But, I mean, again, that like the last 2 Winnipeg games, they kept us in it at least for the most part, but it was just the offense that kept like giving it to them, right? But the defense, well, they had 3 sacks. Betts had 2 of them, and Debaye had the other. And we'll get to like Betts had 2 sacks, but then kind of had to pay for that last one, right? I think 0 interceptions, 0 fumbles, 0 turnover on downs. So, and then Micah Alway, like he was all over the field. He had 11 tackles, and Williams Senior had 5 tackles. So yeah, I'd probably give like the defense at least like a B minus at least, right? Because you know they did enough to keep the game tight. But then once like the offense started throwing interceptions, and then like the defense was getting thin with the injuries that we'll get to as well. That was when
there's nothing they could have done.
they waved the white flag pretty much, right? There was
Just
like
like this game, or just like most of our games, they were on the field most of the time. Or
yeah.
the last Winnipeg game was pretty even, but the previous Winnipeg game, Winnipeg had the ball 34 minutes, um, which is not good enough. And today, what did they had Saskatchewan had the ball almost 40 minutes, which is like insane,
Yikes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. The defense was on the field a lot. Actually, I'm going to upgrade them to a B plus because they they had a lot of time on the field, right? And the score could have been like infinitely more worse if it was a worse defense that from the start, right? But at least well, especially if Trevor Harris started, right? Like if Trevor Harris, he would score more touchdowns and field goals in this in these situations. But anyways, speaking of field goals, Sean White on special teams, he only had for one field goal and scored the one extra point. So, just still perfect on the season in that regard. Mayo, for the punter, I'd say Mayo had a pretty good game of punting, but again, when your offense keeps sucking, the punter we keep seeing all the time, and you have to make those long punts to keep the other team's offense in check, right? And he did that very well because he averaged 52 yards on 7 punts and had one inside the 10. I would count it as inside the 10 because one of the punts that he did was on the 10, right? So I would count that as an inside the 10 punt because it's still on the 10, right? And then we're going to get to our kick returner, which is our 4th straight kick returner. Are we just going to cycle through kick returners like it's Pokemon lineup or something, right?
The post Terry Williams area would be this tough.
Yeah, I'm expecting in the Montreal game, we bring back Terry Williams just for nostalgia, for just hey, remember
he was
guy?
bad, but he was consistent.
He was consistent with the no yards. And we'll get to we actually get a no yards this time. But this new special teams victim is named Brooks the Third. He had 7 return catches on special teams, 3-point returns, and 4 kickoff returns for a total of 104 yards with an average of 23.5 for kickoffs and 3. I did a double take and I went 3.3 average for punt returns and only 10 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, punt returns wasn't very good, but yeah, did a little better on kickoff, but punt returns is man, that's bad.
Rough. And a lot of the punts went into the end zone. He just went tracked backwards.
Yeah,
There's
there
2
was
rouges this game, I think.
There was a couple punts where you let it go for rouges, right? But
even
Saskatchewan's
those are
punter was
not
good.
I personally don't mind the rouge because even if you give them the ball at the 40-yard line, points are points, and games are often won by single points. So
some people on the CFL subreddit will lynch you for that.
I know they will, but
apparently there's a new hate for the rouge, and I'm going, why?
I mean, I've always liked it, and I don't mind getting points because we've had so many games that are 1-point losses, and those rouges matter.
Yeah, rouges matter, especially late game, especially late game misses and stuff like that, right? But we haven't seen that yet.
That sigh I just had kind of sums up my opinion about this game.
Well, we're gonna get you guys are gonna get into the Saskatchewan stats, and I mentioned that again. I don't think Mayo had the greatest game of all time, or just he was a game manager quarterback. Right, he did enough to make the team keep the points up and win. Right, to complement the great job that the defense was doing. Right.
Jacob, you want to do offense or defense?
It doesn't matter. I can do offense, I guess.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
It's just kind of depressing, so I will not have much to say because I'm sad. But that's okay.
Not much to say either. Yeah.
Jake Mayer went 13 for 23, 170 yards and a touchdown. For the running back, Willett, 20, am I reading the right stats? 23 carries for 139 yards. See, I did not watch the whole game. I listened to a lot of it on the radio, and boy, oh boy, Moj and Julia were not happy. There was quite a lot of "you got to be kidding me" during their calls, and they do not mince words about their opinion of the team. So I'm glad that they described the move pretty accurately.
They're basically official versions of us, right? Watching the game, but and they even have I'm getting a little bit of attention. They even have their own, First and Now podcast to replace the On Tap shows, which we went to a few times last year. I mean, I'm kind of sad that On Tap is gone, but now
we can step in and fill that void. So there you go.
Yeah, we can shout them out too. We can do cross, shout outs to other podcasts, right? We're more of a fan podcast. That's we're just learning as we go, and Yeah, I'd say
We're
we're
getting
doing a
better
pretty
every
good job
episode.
so far. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to say about Ouellette, I got flashbacks to Brady Oliveira because I swear there were points in the game where we could not stop Ouellette. It
Oh
was
my
so
God.
frustrating. We had a great running
And
back on our side with Butler, and he was doing the same on Ouellette was doing the same for Saskatchewan, so it was very frustrating.
yeah,
That's depressing.
like I even mentioned with Peterson for the Bombers after Oliveira went down. And Willette is just continuing, it's just the continuation of, Titan from Megamind that, whenever he says like I wouldn't say freed, more like under new management, and we have all of a sudden we just have prairie teams running back just running all over our defense. Right. I mean, even with Trey Ford, like he had amazing plays in the first game, even in the loss, right? Oh, he's a quarterback though, but yeah, he just no.
Anyway, I'll move on to the
Anyways, move on.
receivers. Enough about Willette. He makes me sad, so I'm gonna pretend he doesn't
Yeah.
exist now. The receivers, Duncan Bush, we had 2 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. Some sort of glitch where the stats showed his
Yeah,
longest is 42, but that's okay. 62 yards. Johnson had 4 catches, 53 yards. Longest is 20. Robustelli, I probably pronounced that wrong, had 2 catches for 40 yards.
Robicelli. Yeah, it's an Italian name, so I can help you out with that.
It's okay. My
Uh,
German last name has been pronounced wrong many times over the years.
so is
Um,
mine, right?
Myers had 3 catches for 15 yards and Picton. Way, Hammer, you want to do the defense?
The defense. Um, 3 interceptions. Amazing. Campbell, Milligan, Brooks Jr. with the 3 interceptions
And
and
no
one fumble.
sacks.
No sacks. Yeah, no sacks. I thought our O-line played well today. It allowed a lot of space for James Butler. Not a lot of space for points. AJ Allen had 7 tackles. Jameer Thurman had 5. On special teams, Brett Lawther, 5 for 5 field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. He really got himself going this game. Punting, ouch. 7 punts, averaging 50 yards each, with his longest being 77. 2 punts inside the 10, 2 of them back for Rouges.
Yeah, even
He
the
was very
punting
good
was
that
great,
game.
right?
Yeah,
It's just,
it's frustrating when a team is a good punter. Like honestly, it's one of those small details that you really notice when it's good. Um, and catch returns, Alford, 8 return catches on special teams, 6 punts and 2 kickoffs for a total of 134 yards, averaging 26.5 per kickoff return, 13.5 for punt returns, longest being 32, longest
yeah, we limited. Yeah, I'd say the special teams aspect for limiting Mario Alford. I mean, I thought that was a good sign too. I mean, like there were quite a few times where just the tackles were, just if the tackles missed on Alford, he would have been gone for like 50 or a touchdown after that, right? But it was
yeah,
barely like
there were some times he was pretty close.
that aspect of special teams coverage I like too. But yeah, it's just
13 point,
we
13.5 on punt returns is better than 3.3.
yeah, we just can't have complete special teams, we gotta have like the yin in terms of special teams defense, and then our yang is the non-existent offense, right?
Yeah.
uh,
Anyways,
uh,
this was almost the stats. So BC had 14 penalties, 125 yards.
oh
Saskatchewan had
God,
10 for 136
the
yards. There were
penalties
some
were
interesting
insane,
penalties this
right?
game, so we'll
Yeah,
recap those. As
the
also
penalty
mentioned earlier, time of possession, BC with 21 minutes, 25 seconds. Saskatchewan with 38 minutes and 35 seconds.
nearly 40. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and again, a lot of that time of possession had to do with BC constantly going just 2 and outs and everything, right? And of course, the interceptions usually, a couple of the interceptions like deep in Saskatchewan zone that'll allow them to take more time off the clock with offense. But it's just yeah, this was like unlike the other games where the time of possession was like very minimal. Like this was just a clear, just like no. There was nothing that BC could do on offense for the most part. Like there was only the one drive in the first quarter that was like they were firing on, they were clicking, right? And we're gonna get into that with the game recap. So this
Let's
is
try
we're gonna
try not to go
soldier through
too long
this.
into the game recaps. We've been recording well, but also for our own sanity, because this was tough
Yeah, this
watching.
is tough. Yeah, it's tough to read through, and I'm yeah, I'm sick of writing the words to and out next to BC
Oh,
every time. But anyways, so yeah, in the first quarter, I mean, for one, this is the battle of the backups again. Masoli is up against Jake Mayo, right? Which is pretty damning about this. We cannot beat Strebler, and we cannot beat Jake Mayo, and I don't know if Alexander is going to be coming back from Montreal. We might see McLeod Bethel Thompson again for next week,
the year of
but man,
backups in
like
the
this
CFL.
is like it is like when you can't beat backups, that's embarrassing, right? But yeah, for the second out of 3 games, we're playing a backup. I said work is clearly being saved for Montreal. I do think he'll come for Montreal, but there's it's Indigenous logo day, which I love the Indigenous logos of the league, and it was at least nice to see. Like we got our asses kicked, but at least we didn't get our asses kicked in a you know inferior logo, right? It was
Yes,
Yeah, we looked good getting beat up. Those Indigenous logos are fire, right?
yes,
Uh,
they are.
yeah, so Saskatchewan debuted their Indigenous logo. I thought it was pretty clean. It was like flowers and and everything. I can't remember the exact details of it, but yeah, it was that looked good too. So yeah, BC is set to receive the opening kickoff. Brooks returned the kickoff to the 22. Then, like on the first play of the BC's drive, a defensive back on the Riders, Malik Coney, that got injured briefly. He did return to the game, but I do find it funny that Saskatchewan has like a player named Coney on the team when that's our prime minister now. uh,
Maybe he can correct himself being a fan of the Edmonton Oilers. He can say he's a BC Lions fan. I'll forgive his Oilers fandom if he declares himself a Lions fan. It's
he's
not
probably
great,
an
but I'll
Elks
let it
fan.
slide. We'll say it cancels out.
Probably an Elks fan too, but
Now I'm
boy.
gonna go down that Google rabbit hole and find out.
Yep. So yeah, Coney's got injured, but he ends up being fine later in the game. Butler runs on first down, and then Masoli throws incomplete to Katoy, who almost get the first down to go 2 and out. First 2 and out of many. Oh. Also gets no progress on the punt return on the yeah. This was like I mentioned in the Saskatchewan stats that yeah there was like the first great tackle that prevented Alpha from going like
Yep,
50, 70 yards down the
He's an
field.
Elks fan. I just found it out. He's an Elks
Carney,
fan.
Mark Carney.
Yep.
I knew it.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew it.
Boo.
Total Edmonton homo.
Boo.
Boo.
Yeah. So yeah. So Alpha gets no progress on the punt return. Willette runs to the right side and converts for 29 on first downs. That's the first of many pretty good ones for him. Mayo throws to Pickens on second down to convert for 15 with a lion like in his face, like he chucked it over, like he was blocking his vision. He chucked it over. Uh, Managed to get a first down. Riders get called for procedure on the left side on second down to go like second and 15, and then Mayo throws incomplete on a pressure by Betts to force Lauder to kick a 34-yard field goal, take the lead 3-0. It's like, okay, not the ideal start, but I'm glad that they didn't go up like 7-0 instantly, right? But Jackson almost deflects the pass to get intercepted on the short first down pass. Like this is the ensuing drive after the field goal. Then Masoli throws a deflected pass by the D line, go 2 and out. Alfred returns like for 3 yards, so it's another short punt return. Mayo throws to Keyshawn Johnson on a slant right on second down to convert for 20 yards. Calder Jr. tackles for a loss of 1, thankfully, to prevent like another, there were even, it was mostly on special teams, but on offense, there were definitely moments where, they stopped receivers from going farther when they should. Especially with Calder tackle for a loss of 1. Mayo throws to Johnson for 3 yards to force the Riders to punt, and then Brooks returns. Yeah, Brooks returns for BC for only 3 yards. So it's like kind of like a wash off with the return game at this point in the game, like early. Masoli throws deep to McInnes, but the Riders are called for DPI. Like this was the BC's first down, and it came on a defensive pass interference. Right, that's embarrassing.
That's how sad our effort was today when that stuff happens.
Yeah, that's like, oh, of course, that's how we get the first down. Right? You just get assistance by the refs, right? But unfortunately, but of course, as is like tradition with BC's offense, they can't do anything with that because they don't go further than that. So they punted to, Mayo punted it to the 10-yard line. Willett converted an up the middle one for 13, but could have been more. And again, another instance of, could have been more if he wasn't tripped up by Haladic. Mayo throws to a wide open Robustelli. Like, okay, yeah, this was like a 40-yard pass. That was like the one big yards highlight for Mayo, like throwing it to Robustelli for 40 yards. Like Gary Peters was like all the way, like he was a whole bus length away. Like it was, I was glad, at the moment I was glad that Robustelli, like, he was out of bounds at that point. Like he could have been gone, right, if he had stayed like within a margin of the stripes, right? uh yeah, that was really embarrassing, but like, oh my God, it would get even worse because then well well for once Saskatchewan does fail to do anything more of that because Stevens gets sacked on 2nd and 2 for a loss of 3 yards because he ran into his like own O lineman and he fell backwards. That was kind of funny, right? um Yeah, it forced Lauder to kick a long 48-yard field goal to extend the lead to 6-0. BC had called for procedure on first down on the ensuing drive, and then McInnes converts on a short pass for like BC's non-referee aided first down, right?
The whole quarter.
It could have been, yeah, that was like on the near the last play of the quarter, right? That was the first non-aided first down. And yeah, that sucked. And then like it sucked, and then like immediately as the second quarter started, and Butler, runs for a bit, but then he fought like this was the one you know, bad thing that happened to him, and otherwise, pretty good day for him. He fumbled the ball on the first play of the quarter on a run to set up Saskatchewan at the 53.
Which
Right.
of course he did.
Can't have the good without the bad, right? uh
Yeah.
a yin yang offense. So in this case, it's more yang than yin. Uh, but thankfully, the Riders don't do anything with that fumble because they go 2 and out. Mayo did have like a deep shot attempt. At this point I was having dinner. Oh yeah, I think this was like I was having dinner, and Hammer, like you were away for the first quarter, right? Like you
I
were
was just I was at my sister's Little League baseball game. I came back,
you came back.
and that
I was
was
having dinner,
first drive
and
I
then
saw.
first drive you saw, just like this was the one moment of the game where BC looked incredible. Like they were great. Like there was, Butler had a long run. Like Masoli was like clicking with the receivers. We had 4 first downs in a row, and we were just amazed, right? Like how could you coming to watch this game like immediately energize the offense for that
No,
one drive, right?
I
It
hope
all
that there
ended.
was more to come of that, but no.
Yeah, it all came to a head. Like Hatcher got a touchdown pass after 4 straight first down plays. Like, that was like, whoa. We're thinking like, we have apparently we have an effect on the team somehow, right? Even though I know we don't, but it's like that was kind of funny, right? Where it's just like you finally come home to, start watching the game and then they immediately wake up, right? Uh, yeah. So yeah, they
That
took the
was the
lead.
touchdown drive.
That was the lead. Like we actually have a lead now, like, in the first half, right? And you know, we enjoyed that for a little bit because on the ensuing drive after that touchdown, the Riders go 2-and-out on a drop ball and Betts deflected a pass too. The punt that Saskatchewan did, actually, Couch did, actually bounced backwards towards the 48. So they had like pretty good field position in that instance, right? BC gets a few first downs, but they don't get far enough to get a field goal. So they punt to Alford, who runs to the Saskatchewan 30, but then an illegal block penalty forces them to start a drive at the 7. Betts sacked Meyer on second down for a loss of 3 to force Saskatchewan to do the 2-and-out punt. And then Brooks returns to punt to center field, but then unfortunately BC is called for a legal block to start at the to call for a legal block, so they go back to the 38. And then like before the 3-minute warning, like Sales for Saskatchewan had like a really hard crushing hit on Butler. I thought Butler was gonna get injured after that, but he seemed okay. That was a hard hit for him to
Ah,
take,
remember
right?
that.
Yeah. I try to take detailed notes so you can remember like that kind of stuff. But yeah. Um yeah, after the 3-minute warning, where am I?
Think we
Oh,
could just stop talking here.
yeah.
I know when you say it, it's gonna get bad.
Oh God, yeah. Actually, yeah. Mayo throws incomplete to Myers as he takes a licking by Beaulieu, but then Betts is called for roughing the passer. This was like a little bit later. They go up 15 yards in a very late hit. Willette converts on an A gap one for 12. Oh yeah, here's the moment where like Betts and Hendricks combine to sack Mayo as he scrambled around to the backfield, but Betts had his arm injured on that play and it was out for the rest of the game. Right, that was the first of the thinning of the defense. Right. um. So after that sack, like Lava barely sneaks the ball in the uprights on a 43-yard field goal to take the lead, 9-7. Um. And here it comes. Because Butler runs on back to back to convert for first downs. Uh, he converts again on 2nd and 2 as they're racing against the clock, getting the scoring position. I forgot about this. This was like the first like the warning shot before like the big omen because we thought that McKinnon scored a touchdown on a deep bomb from Masoli, but then an offside call
Oh,
negated it.
I
It could have
jumped.
been
I thought he had it.
14 to 7 at most. Then after that touchdown was negated, like Butler converted on 2nd and 6 to Saskatchewan 29. I said, makeable range for White. And then Masoli throws an awful pass to Hatcher. Like he got way too greedy, right? Intercepted by Campbell for 80 yards to go like to the house for a pick 6 to go to 17-7. And, and that was the last play of the quarter too. Right? That was like the emphatic, nah, you're not scoring anything. You're not winning today. Play.
I can feel
And I
the
put
pain
and
right
I even
now.
put like why would you throw that when a field goal would be better? And I called it Minnesota followed it. Like Masoli did that, right? That was just a boneheaded decision Like I don't know if it was Masoli that I had faith to get more points, or if it was like the offensive coach, if it was Buck Pierce that made the call to do that. But that is so stupid. You could
Yeah.
have gotten away with getting at least like a 10-9 lead at halftime, or 17-7. Oh no, or 14-7 if that touchdown counted, right? But instead, we're down 17-7 at halftime. The exact opposite of everything that we wanted, right? Out of
I
that
was so
drive.
mad. He ran the
That
full
was
length of the field for that pick six, and in those
that
seconds, you're
whole
just you're just in shock. Like, what the hell?
that
Why would you
whole
do that?
sequence that whole sequence of events was just indicative of just how frustrating it is to watch these games lately. Like
Welcome back.
just
Welcome back to me watching the Lions
welcome,
again.
welcome to
I missed this.
welcome to die, as Magneto would
Ah,
say. uh, yeah. So
third quarter.
halftime comes and goes.
Yeah.
So quarter, Alfred returns to. So yeah, Saskatchewan
Oh,
gets the ball to kick off here. So we're thinking
freaking
they're gonna go up
take
like
over here.
24.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20.
Matthew Betts, it was announced that he was out for the remainder of the game on one of
Yeah.
those sacks. He got hurt. It was an arm injury. Yeah.
Yeah, I was also going to say, like, here's where I'm going to let Hammer take over to
Oh,
read most of the recap
I
because
jumped the gun.
yeah, sorry, like he wanted to do that.
Alright.
So uh
Yeah. I wanted to do a bit of the recap, and this happens to be the most, but
shorter
also
the
least
shorter part,
eventful
yeah.
half, right? Yeah. So Saskatchewan's first drive of the second half, they had the ball first. BC number 9, Williams, a horse collar tackle. This was initiated a booth review. Then BC got a major penalty to advance Saskatchewan to
The
the
radio guys were
32,
not happy
BC's
about that
32.
one.
They weren't?
That was
Yeah.
unusual, yeah. I think a booth review,
And
like it
then
wasn't a challenge, right? It was like, okay, nothing, that was a horse collar, you're going up 15 yards. uh
this half was really AJ led in a nutshell. Like they were running plays left, right, and center. He had a couple of runs on this drive, including a 10-yard run for a TD on 2nd and 8, to make it. Oh, well, and Saskatchewan then missed the 2-point convert with Mayer throwing past the end zone, but then it was 24-7. BC's first drive of the half. So that was an 8-minute drive, took up half of this third quarter. BC's first drive of the half, a 2-and-out. Yeah, and in Masoli's second throw, he threw it right into the lineman. Very brutal throw. Uh, so after the Riders got the ball back, an 8-yard run from Ouellette, first down. And after that, the Lions finally force a punt. So after a long punt, forcing Brooks back to the end zone, um, they took a knee in the end zone for Rouge, and BC got the ball back on the 40. Big throw to Aberhart for 25-yard gain. And then
yes.
on second down, Masoli threw to Butler, made some really nice moves for a first down. The next play, Masoli threw it for another first down to Aberhart, about 10 yards to advance Saskatchewan's 15, and another throw to Aberhart on the next play for a first down. So BC had the ball in Saskatchewan's 4, first and goal. They moved quickly for another 3 yards. Butler ran up to the 1-yard line, and then a really boneheaded procedure call to really kill the life out of that drive, bumping us back from the over the 1-yard line to the 6. On second and goal, Masoli threw to the corner of the end zone to McGinnis, and it was incomplete. It dropped the ball, so Sean White kicked field goal to make it 23-10. Saskatchewan got the ball back to begin the fourth quarter. On the first play, Mayer completed a throw for first down. That was it. Riders fell short on the 51 and punted, and the ball was also again kicked into the end zone for Rouge. So I noticed two straight good punts, really deep from Saskatchewan. So we got the ball
Yeah,
back on the BC 40.
just keep
Um,
just
Masoli
keep
was
us in it
nearly
a little more.
sacked. Yeah, Masoli was nearly sacked on the first play, but instead he sent a deep shot to Hatcher downfield, which was dropped after he was fiddled around with by Lacombo. Then Buck Pierce challenged the play for pass interference. I didn't think it was pass interference at all. The analysts didn't think it either, and it was unsuccessful. We lost our
And
challenge, our timeout.
yeah, another desperation pass interference challenge, which I've noticed that a few times now. It was just he's he's probably like 0 for now with challenges, right? Just
Yeah.
probably. Um
Anyways, the
uh
second play of that drive went nowhere for a loss of yards, and BC punted the ball. So the broadcast pointed out that was our fifth 2-and-out of the game for BC in the fourth quarter.
yeah,
It's
and then
not very good
TSN
record.
Just depressing and
yeah,
shameful.
I'll mention that, yes, TSN then like twisted a knife and like we're already feeling sad about losing like this badly. And then they show Andrew Harris as like the running back coach with Saskatchewan. Like, really? You gotta do this to us now?
Yep.
Someone on
First,
the camera crew is a Riders fan who hates us. The Lions. Okay. Anyways,
so
PB
about
ones.
3 minutes into the fourth quarter, Riders got the ball back. Quite a few runs, just wasted the clock. They didn't go anywhere with this drive. So they punted back to the Lions. This is when I just stopped taking notes. I mean, it was 24-10. We all thought the game was over. So I was kind of just sitting here and just watching. Then an interception. Masoli, 3 interceptions by Milligan Jr., who returned 41 yards to BC 11. And Jackson got injured on the play. He was okay in the end, but we were like, goodness me, we're going to have an Ottawa type injury crisis pretty soon.
Yeah, I
So
posted the Ottawa like injury list before the game just to say like, oh man, look how bad this is. And then the football gods like, oh, you think that's bad? We're gonna do it for like one game, right?
yeah, boy, we're getting
It's
cursed here.
yeah, I'm tempted. Yeah, we're just tempting fate a little too much. At least I am, at least. But I'm
So now oh, sorry, I'll cut you off, but I'm
yeah, yeah.
basically reading the
Both of us stopped taking notes after that
yeah,
Milligan interception because, like, we knew like that was like if that first half end of the first half interception wasn't definitive like this, it was like total complete 100%. Like it's over because
I rushed through the
Saskatchewan like
last minute here off of the CFL website because after that drive, Saskatchewan got a field goal. We got the ball back. First play intercepted again. Saskatchewan got another touchdown to make it 34-10. Um, and then BC got a touchdown on their last drive of the game. It was James Butler who received for a touchdown, and he deserved a touchdown. He played a great game, probably one of the only good players of our game. And then on Saskatchewan's last drive, they kicked a field goal. Final score 18-37.
I
We
said
converted
34.
a
Oh,
two-point
oh,
convert.
I
Yeah.
thought it was 34 to 8. Oh, yeah. Oh, it felt
Oh,
like
you
it,
must have
right?
missed
But
the last field goal. We had a
okay,
two-point convert at the end. I didn't realize that either. But 18-37, we lose
okay,
th
I
one
changed
and
that.
three on the season.
Just for archival purposes, right? Just to
Yeah.
make it right.
Fun
Because yeah,
fact,
we
because
got like a lot of games on this note sheet, right?
yeah, fun fact for the viewers, our note sheet includes every game we've covered on the podcast. It is 109 pages long.
And 80 of
Yeah,
that is
We've
just
seen
pain.
things.
this
It
is
is
the
all
most
pain.
I've ever typed ever since like I've done essays for my college term papers.
Goodness me, my longest papers were like 10 pages, and this is 109, which is it isn't even double spaced. But
Yeah, I say we can
Lions
get to like
lose.
two. We'll probably get to 200 by the end of the season, right?
Oh, we will.
Uh, so yeah, again, like this was like a highly, as much as the Winnipeg losses, both of them were demoralizing. This was like even more demoralizing because not only can we not defeat Winnipeg like with their backup and with their starter, but now like losing to Jake Mayo, like this
Mm,
team can't even beat backup quarterbacks, right?
It's only going to
And
get worse
that we've
next
always
week.
called them in.
it's only gonna get
Yeah.
worse because we get an angry Montreal team next week that got like similarly destroyed by Hamilton, right?
But then
And
again, we went into Montreal and won last year, but that was one of the few bright spots. So all the numbers say that we're cooked, but stranger things have happened.
I guess, right? I mean, the only thing we can do is just like hope at this point. Just with
Literally.
like is probably going to come back for that game, but again, the defense
Hope.
has taken a big beating with I don't know how long Betts and Hendricks is going to be out, but I mean, it is going to give a lot of the next man up mentality for the defense at least to step up. But again, I'm not going to harp on the defense too much because again, how can you like how can you you're giving it like an A+ effort, but like the offense is just like consistently just giving the ball back to the other team. It's like you're just throwing your hands up and going what more can we do to like have a complete game out of this team? Like it feels like it's never gonna happen, right? I know that's hyperbole to say that, but it's just
I don't think it is. Just sometimes I'm a little dramatic, but
I
this
know I
team is
hate
is not
going
is not playing
into
well right now, and changes need to be made. I got a text from my dad after the game, and he says that he expects that changes will be made, and he is always the one who says that I'm too negative. So if he's saying
oh
something needs to be done, then that tells you something.
yeah, I talked a little bit with my dad too about this game, and he's saying he's not even like watching the game at all, right? I'm just telling him what happened, and he's going like, "Yep, that's about right," because he doesn't even have to watch the games to know that, and because he can tell when BC is doing well if I'm like shouting and hooting and hollering about touchdowns. But if I'm quiet through like most of the game, then he knows that the team's doing bad, right?
Pretty
And
much.
yeah, that's just like I've been quiet from a long time, right? And I hate that. I hate coming into every game feeling like how are they gonna lose this one? I don't want to feel like that anymore, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to feel like that
You
anymore,
usually
right?
think that with bad teams, with teams you know are bad.
With
And the thing
hockey
that sucks is I
teams,
think
yeah.
we have a good team. That's the
We do.
problem. Then I feel like we're gonna get to we're going downhill here, and it's not very promising.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's just we're just gonna whip up the tape on this one. It's just nothing's
Burn
gonna
it
happen.
and don't talk about it after this podcast is over.
Yeah,
We'll not talk about it before
we're just
halftime.
gonna get like men in the Men in Black flashy thing just to like out of
Pretty
our
much,
memories.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, we'll just hope we're just hoping that work comes back, and he does give us a better chance to win against Montreal for sure. But but the vibes around this team is just like so awful, right? It's I know it's only been it's been 2 road games and 2 home games so far, but it's losing a Prairie team sweet times in a row is not fun.
But
I
there's no
consider.
Prairie teams for a bit here, so that's good.
Yeah, well, yeah, not
For
until
2 weeks, because we have July 19th, we got Saskatchewan again. So yay.
yeah, whoopee.
We will not
Yeah,
be
and,
wearing
and
green that time.
yeah, by
No.
that time Trevor Harris is probably going to be back, and I'm like, oh no, no, no.
So
Yeah,
another
this.
depressing game, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, and speaking of depressing games, I do want to also briefly go over a little bit of the games that happened before us. We can't recap the Ottawa Toronto game tomorrow, right? We'll go over that after um the
Next week.
Montreal game a little bit, but yeah, I just want to talk about I guess oh, I'm on the wrong. Oh,
Elks and Blue
yeah. Oh,
Bombers, huh?
yeah. I want to
Boy,
talk
I
about
was
the
saying
Blue Bombers beating Edmonton
no
36
team,
to 23. Yeah, you're
no
gonna
team
say
that plays
no
against the
team.
Bombers can do us any favors. Beat them.
No, they feel invincible at home. Like it's just it's just a fact of life. The death taxes and the Bombers just destroying everyone in Princess Auto Stadium. Right. It wasn't really in doubt. I mean, like Edmonton made a game out of it again, like late, but it was just like the Blue Bombers were all over Edmonton, just like they were all over us the past 2 games, right? It was just the continuation of, and not only that, this is Edmonton's 12th straight loss to Winnipeg on the road.
Nice.
Like
I feel
you
like they were
talk
close
about
in a lot of them.
Yeah, you talk about frustration with us versus them. Like if we lost like 12 straight games to Winnipeg, like I
I'd be seeing things. I
I I
already am, but
I would just wish a lot of bad things, a lot of hexes. I would we count devil magic and just do all sorts of evil things just to have something bad happen to Winnipeg sports teams, right? uh, at least the Bombers, but yeah, that's even more frustrating to like lose 12 straight to Winnipeg on the road. I mean, I get it, like losing when you're the road team is pretty much expected usually, right? But that's rough, man. Yeah, they don't need Brady Oliveira. Like, I'm pretty sure like Brady Oliveira is going to be coming back pretty soon, right? But they don't need him. They're already winning games at a ridiculous click, right? Um, yeah, and then of course, like this was the biggest upset of the week for me, right? Like the Tiger Cats beating down Montreal like 35-17, right? I didn't watch that game too much. I caught it in like little bits and pieces because that game was yesterday and that was during the NHL draft, right? So I was like flipping between the game
I
and the
was watching the
NHL draft.
draft.
Like, yeah, I
Coots.
was I was a little frustrated when I learned that Ottawa traded the Senators traded down. Right? I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go back to the game then. Uh, but yeah, that was a little surprising. But then again, this was McLeod Bethel Thompson's first start because Alexander got injured in the last game, and yeah, McBelt as I call him,
Uh,
McBLT.
McBLT.
Yeah, he wasn't very good in this one, and I'm like, but if he starts in this game, watch out. He's gonna go like 400 yards, 3 touchdowns on us, and it's just I know when I'm gonna be naming that episode next, right? If that comes to pass, but we'll see about the quarterback situation, right? But Hamill, you also made note that a lot of teams in the CFL have been like starting to back up. Like nobody's like there's very
Yeah,
few teams that have like a consistently healthy starting
I, s-
quarterbacks, right?
I saw a stat somewhere saying that after this weekend, 7 of 9 teams would have had their backup quarterbacks play at least one game, which tracks. There's been a lot of injuries so far this year, especially the quarterbacks. I mean,
Yeah, the
us
only
and Saskatchewan playing our
teams,
backups. We played against Streveler earlier. Um, well, yeah,
yeah, the only teams that have had like consistently healthy or non-suspended quarterbacks have been Calgary, Vernon Adams, and
EA. Who would be the other? I
Edmonton. Yeah,
forgot.
yeah, Edmonton with Trey Ford. Yeah, the
Trey Ford. Wow,
Alberta teams
good for
are
them playing him.
immune from starting quarterback injuries, like which is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um, but so not a surprise with Winnipeg beating Edmonton. Very much a surprise with the Tiger Cats beating Montreal, right? So they go to yeah. I forgot to mention the Bombers go to 3-0. Edmonton stays at 0-3, and they have an opportunity to tie with us again next week, right? So, but they play Ottawa next week. Um, I do want to get in, like let's predict the next week's game. So the first one will be Thursday Night Football. Will be Winnipeg versus Calgary.
Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg's gonna win that one too. Right? Uh, that being said, I actually want I want Calgary to win that one.
Like we
Unfortunately,
all do, but
Yes.
we know
VA,
what's
do
going
us
to
a favor.
happen.
He hates Winnipeg. Come on.
we hate Winnipeg so much that like we'll even accept Calgary and Saskatchewan beating them. Right? We want some form of a God can bleed moment for them. Right? That's other than the Grey Cup. Right? We want them to lose in the Western Conference Final. Right? They haven't done that,
Pain is
but
my joy.
yes, yeah, we have been
Ticats,
we have been
Argonauts.
reduced to Schadenfreude merchants. So yeah,
Yeah.
go. Do not clip this out of
Go
context.
Stamps.
Go Stamps.
Go Stamps. Go VA. Go VA.
Go VA. Yeah. Okay, that's
Always,
better to
always love
say.
that
We're
guy.
we're we're rooting for Ronan Adams, absolutely. Yeah, and then Hamilton versus Toronto. I mean, depending on the Toronto and Ottawa result, I think this is kind of unfair, but at the moment, I can see Toronto beating Hamilton if
I'm gonna. Oh, actually, you're right. It
it's a
does
home
depend on
game.
tomorrow's game. But Toronto's 0-3, aren't they?
Yeah, 0
And
3, and they could go to 0 4, right?
their coach
So
does not sound like they believe in them. Like that last interview, from last week when they played the Riders. Yeah, that was a gong show. I think they could lose that game. See if the
they could
Tiger
lose to
Cats are riding
Hamilton.
after a win.
Yeah, so yeah, much like Toronto, I mean, well, actually, no, much like us, I mean, though Toronto's playing Ottawa and they're playing within their division for a bit, right? So, you know, the Ottawa game and this game is important for them to win, just like stay afloat, stay in the conversation of a playoff team. But we'll see what happens. But I do think Toronto could beat Hamilton at this point. But yeah, and then of course the Red Blacks and Elks, same thing again. I don't know what the result of the Red Blacks game is going to be for this week, but I I can see the Red Blacks winning this one, especially if Drew Brown returns to being the quarterback.
I'm
But
just gonna say Red Blacks, they are gonna win that game because we're at the point of the year. Like each of the last three seasons, we've all said, "Oh, could the Elks go 0-18?" They're currently in that.
no,
What?
I'm thinking like this is like the Elks breakout year, and it never happens. They're always starting the
Exactly.
seasons like 0-5 or 0-7, right? They've
And
been
they're even
miserable.
playing Trey Ford. They're doing what they need to do.
They'll get one
Um,
eventually.
they will. But man, so tough to
Yeah,
be an Elks fan.
it's
I feel
as
sad for
tough as it
them.
is to be a Lions fan right now. Like I think if we did an Elks podcast, we would just be constantly like our heads in the dumps, or just
It would
like,
just be
why are we doing
depressing,
this?
depressing, depressing.
Depressing. It's like, we're taking like every win as if it's like our Grey Cup, right?
Literally.
Oh boy. Yeah. I'm yeah, I'm fortunate, we do have at least the Lions do win, on more of a decent click than Edmonton does. But again, it's but when they lose, it's like it's bad, right? So we share
Yes.
the same kind of it sucks to lose like this badly to rivals, right? Um, yeah, so that's yeah, we think the Red Blacks could beat the Elks, and then yeah, so yeah, next week, our game is, I believe it's the Sunday game, right? It's
Saturday next week.
that
Is it
Saturday, so
Saturday?
yeah,
Same time, 4 o'clock.
same
Yep.
time, same, and hopefully earlier recording time because
That'd be
we're
nice.
doing
That's
it.
the goal.
Yeah, we're close to like midnight at this point, right?
Oh yeah.
uh,
I'll get to bed right after this.
yeah, we're just gonna sleep off this sucky day and just hope that next week will bring brighter pastures, right? The grass is greener on the other side, as they say, right? But this green grass with the green team that we face is just no.
The grass is
Um,
greener in Abbotsford.
the grass is greener in Abbotsford, absolutely. But yeah, yeah. So still a lot of unknown, still some unknowns for next week's game against Montreal. But we're prepared to talk about another loss because they're pissed, right? I imagine they're very pissed about losing to Hamilton the way they have, right? Like they were not good. I was shocked, right? I thought even with backup quarterback, I mean, they have enough talent on offense and they have like a fantastic no foot led defense that I thought they can still win even with McLeod Bethel Thompson, but they look off, and they're gonna look for like they're gonna look to us and say like we're gonna kill you, right? No, please don't kill us, right? uh,
Hopefully Rourke is back. He will be, surely.
Hopefully.
In game
mhm.
time for 2 weeks, I think he'll slot back in.
Yeah, I'll slot back like I don't want to see Masoli ever again.
No,
Like that's Yeah, that's I think that should be it for him in terms of starting at least, unless Work gets injured again. But I do want to see, you know, if Work has a bad game against Montreal, I do want to see Bryson at least a little more, and then yeah, it's just these past two games with Masoli has just left a really sour taste in my mouth for him. Like, and I feel for him, right? Like he has a long career. He has been he has been really good with Hamilton at points, right? And just this is just not this is showing his age badly, right? Uh,
You guys
yeah,
watched two games of it, but I've watched one. I'm done with the Masoli experience.
Yeah, time to get
yeah,
Rourke back. I would agree with that.
yeah. Let's hope for a better game next week, and if it's going to be a loss, then I hope it's competitive, right? It's not over by the first half, or just continue to kill us right in the second half. But
That's crucial.
yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's we made
Conclude
it
it?
through. We made it through the catharsis of just releasing or venting again, right? So yeah, accurate big. Thanks for being a trooper, for going over to see this trash heap of a team play, right? In Regina. We're giving you props for that at least. And yeah, that's yeah, I I hope you know the one game I'm going to for Ottawa in September, like I hope that's gonna be, a much better result in terms of watching them live, right? But we'll
Yes.
see. So yeah, that's gonna be it for us for today's episode. I guess I'll just go right in with plugging in our socials, including our new BlueSky account. So BlueSky account is the same as the Instagram and uh yeah, the Instagram account, where it's just section 214 pod. Uh I'll put that in the description, but yeah, you can reach us there now. But yeah, you can like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or also, if you want to like leave a more detailed message for us to read out for next episode, that'd help us too. You can reach us through Gmail, our Gmail account. So that's section 214. That's SECTIONTWOFOURTEEN at gmail.com. I'm yeah, that's if you want to continue to vent about this loss with us too, that's good. But uh yeah, let's just wipe this game away and look forward to next week, and go Canucks, go. uh
Well, Canucks go.
And hopefully go Lions go too. It's still
Yes.
fun to watch the games even though they suck. Hopefully they won't suck in the future.
yeah,
But
like we want to
I
talk
still
about
had fun
wins.
doing this even if we
Yeah,
lost. But
yeah,
hopefully,
It's good.
there won't be too many more of those.
It's good to have all three of us back.
yeah,
I
all three of
agree.
us are back for this, and yeah, it's nice to have the Moai boys back and full action, right?
Yep,
um so yeah, that'll be it for us tonight. So yeah, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and happy Canada Day as well. uh
indeed.
Bye
All right.
bye.
Be Canada
Bye,
Day.
folks.
See you next time.